Hello and welcome back to the Fit Fuzz podcast, episode number 45. Today we're joined by a very, very special guest. Chris, how are you getting on, mate?
I am very well, thank you. This is my first podcast appearance. I know you're probably thinking that's Cultivate Chris sitting across there. No danger, he's not been on a podcast.
Is
But
it
I've
genuinely your first ever podcast, like ever?
genuinely ever, yeah, ever, never. Yeah,
Class,
not
mate.
been on before, yeah.
Absolutely class. Well, it's good to have you here, mate. Obviously we'll dive into what you're up to in just a wee minute. But Kyle, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Good. I'm good, mate. I'm good. I tell you what, man, fucking shocking results for the old football this week, eh? I don't know whose was worse. Might 4-1 at home against Lyon or 7-1 away against Dortmund.
Didn't see any football this week, mate.
Shock. Aye. Good. Good. Chris, when was the last time you experienced European football?
AZ Alkmaar, where we also got tanked about
Oh, that's
8-1 or
right.
something.
That's right.
Yeah,
That was
we
a
beat
couple of
them.
seasons ago.
Yeah, we beat them 1-0 at home. We're looking great. Absolutely ran the show and then went away, obviously full of optimism, and we just got pasted. It was,
That's right. Was that when Glenn Middleton was doing bits of these?
yeah, Dylan Levitt was there as well. That was his first season there, and he was
That's right.
unbelievable when he was on loan. Then we signed him for 250k, and then he just flopped. He just didn't do
Fucking
anything.
wild. Kyle, how's the wee fella? I know he wasn't doing too well.
He's a lot better now, but yeah, had hand, foot, and mouth. My mum actually came over to give us the weekend off so we could go to the cinema and go out for dinner, but he ended up getting a temperature, so it pretty much just consisted of about 2 hours sleep and just watching him. None of us were talking to each other because we all just had the fear for him. But yeah,
Oh
he's a lot
man,
better now.
that's a fucking sin, man. Have you
It's
had
not
anything
ideal.
like that with yours, Chris? Like any experiences with like hand, foot, and mouth?
Nah, it's never been anything like that, but it's just constant illnesses, like all the time. Like our first one was never unwell, ever. Like he's 6 year old now, and he only really started getting unwell when he went to school. So right through being a baby, we never had really any trips to the doctor, any trips to the hospital. But the second one is just ill constantly. He was 4 weeks. He was in the hospital with bronchiolitis, and because he was so wee, we didn't know what was wrong with him. But
Mm.
go through everything like hand, foot, and mouth, and all these different, infections and illnesses. But it's brutal. They make you worry so much, man. It's nuts. Like it's mad.
Aye. Both of yous have been, lacking for sleep recently, ain't yous?
It's just a bit. Yeah, we're getting better. Getting better. How would
Is
you?
there? Oh, sorry, I didn't go.
Just over 5 months.
Yeah, okay. So mine's just coming up for 5 months. So we just got through that wee 4 month sleep regression, and now we're kind of on the home straight. But he's kind of teasing us a little bit. He's like, some nights he sleeps all night, and then some nights he gets up twice, and you're like, oh, fuck, which way are you going here?
Yeah,
Well,
we,
I'm gonna
we're,
be.
we're a bit the same, to be fair, as well. Like, Jen, sometimes my partner, she's like, I don't hear him stirring. I'm like, he's definitely at 5:30 in the morning, still has a little bit of moving about and stuff. But yeah, no, it is what it is.
I'm going to be right in the middle of dad chat all this episode, aren't I?
This is just dash at me. Yeah.
Just dad chat. Well, I'm going to bring you some good news, some exciting news. I'm finally sitting at an office desk.
I did think you had a bit of Professor Xavier look about you today, mate, in the big chair
Finally.
and swingy chair.
I've been on the fucking living room floor for about the past 6, 7 episodes, Chris, because obviously we've just moved gaff and I've just got the office desk set up, so I'm coming from a place of comfort today. So if I go for a wee nap midway through the episode, you know what's happened. I'll leave you two talking about that stuff, and I'll just go
Like
for
the
it.
nappies and that.
Right. Right, shall we dive in, man? Find out a wee bit more about Chris, Kyle.
I think that's why we're here today, mate. Yeah, let's
Let's
do it.
fucking do it. Let's do it. Mate, I want to know where the name Cultivate came from. Talk me through it.
Where it came from. If you wanted a short answer, I would just say it came from a thesaurus, to be totally honest. Do you know what? Like when I thought of a name, like I always wanted it to be. I never really wanted it to be like Chris Lawson coaching or Chris Lawson PT. Like I always had a bigger vision that it would be a brand at some point in
Mm.
the future. It would be a brand. So I always wanted it to have a catchy sort of name that just sort of rolled off the tongue. But then you obviously, as you see everywhere, there's all these different names of programs like Ignite, Exceed, Accelerate, all these different things, and I wanted one that really meant to create something, to make something of you, or to grow something. So I whipped out the thesaurus digitally, obviously not. I don't have an actual thesaurus. That would be a bit weird. I don't think anyone has a thesaurus anymore. But I looked down it and then Cultivate came up and I was like, Cultivate, done a wee Google search for the definition so that it wasn't not what I thought it was. And I thought Cultivate coaching, do you know what? It has a ring to it.
Mm-hmm. And it kind of bleeds in well with your name as well, doesn't it? Cultivate Chris.
Yeah, that was total chance. That was total chance. I think I can't remember what my name was before. I think it was just Cultivate Coaching UK. And then I think I just thought, oh, I want my name in it, and then I was just lucky that Cultivate Chris kind of works, and yeah, now it's so
Fantastic.
bad that some of my pals call me Cultivate Chris, and it's quite annoying. To be honest.
That's class, man. Both of you have got quite catchy names, and it is kind of, building a brand, building an actual brand rather than just being your name with a VPT at the end of it on the socials and stuff. So that's class. How long ago was it you started your coaching business?
So I started Cultivate. It would have been the end of August last year.
Wow.
So it wasn't. I worked in a pretty high stress sales job before that, and I was here, there, and everywhere, all over the country, like from Aberdeen down to sometimes away in Greenock, and it was mental. Like I was here, there, and everywhere. So we got married last year, and obviously I was doing that job while planning a wedding, and it got to a point. I was doing like 12-hour days, and I got to a point where I was like, I just can't do this anymore. So we kind of set a date, we set a timeline. We're like right at this date. I think it was like a week after the wedding or a week before the wedding or something it was. We said that's when I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to start up on my own. So
Was
yeah,
it
it's
scary?
just over a year. It was scary as fuck. Yeah, that's me. Like I was like because I just meant cold turkey, if that makes sense. I just totally quit. Like obviously I've done the sensible thing. I had some money behind me, but I didn't like I probably didn't have near enough behind me. And I just
Aye.
on it, like, I thought I've had enough and it's just I went into my boss's office one day and I was just like he was actually way to give me a telling off. I sat down with him and he was a way to like because I think that like being in a job and you're getting to the end of it, like you're working your notice period or you're thinking about handing your notice period in, you get to that point where you just like subconsciously start slacking and you don't even realize it.
Mhm.
It's like, I wasn't following through in my morning routine. I wasn't. I was a sales manager, so I was able to go in the office when I wanted. But I used to go in at 10 o'clock religiously. I was starting to go in at like 5 past. Get breakfast on the way and stuff. And I was just subconsciously slacking. He found out I was doing that, so he was ready to sit me down and give me a pure rollicking. And before he even said anything, I just whipped out a bit of paper, put my notice down on the desk, and I was just like, "I'm leaving." He was like, "You're what?" I was like, "Leaving." Yeah, that was it. Worked my notice, and yeah.
That's class, man. What made you choose coaching? Was there something underlying? Were you passionate about fitness, or did you just fucking think I'm going to give it a shot and see if I enjoy it?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a sporty kind of guy. Like, I played football in my days since the age of 7. I've always played with like young boys clubs, and I played amateur football, and I trained with a couple of different teams when I lived in Edinburgh for a while. So back when I was leaving school, I always had the idea that I was going to be like a PE teacher or a
Mm.
PT. But then I think for what I was thinking at the time for the qualifications I needed to get into uni and stuff like that, I was just at the time I was like, I really want to go through another few years of uni to go and be a teacher. PT was an idea, but back then a PT course was probably about the same as what it is now, to be fair. And I looked at the cost of it and I was like, I don't know if that's worth it as well. So I kind of just got put on the back burner for a good
Mm.
while. I tried loads of different things, loads of different careers, but one thing that I always stuck to was trying to look after myself, whether that was because I was playing football or going to the gym or I've never I've always made sure that like I've never had like a terrible diet, if you know what I mean. Like there's been times where I've gained a bit of weight and I've lost a bit of weight, but overall I've always had in the back of my mind that was always like a priority for me was to be fit and healthy. So um at one point I've had a couple of different PTs and a couple of coaches and the one that actually spurred me on to do this was I had quite a bad experience with a coach and the way they went about their coaching and the way they coached me, it just made me think like actually I don't want other guys to go to experience
Mhm.
that. like that. There's got to be a better standard of coaching out there. And don't get me wrong, it's few and far between. I'm not going to
Aye.
lie. There has to be a better standard, and this one had a lot of clients at the time, and all I kept thinking was, are they getting the same treatment as me? Because
Hmm.
yeah, it was mental. And then I weighed up that with wanting a wee bit more time on my hands, so that's where the online side of things came from. Obviously, we had Caleb at the time. Cruz wasn't born yet, but looking ahead, we were always planning to have Cruz. So looking ahead, I was thinking I need something where I'm not. I don't want to be glued to a desk 9 to 5 anymore, or I don't want to be traveling the country 10 till 10 anymore. I want something where I'm kind of able to work on my own terms. So yeah, I gave it a shot, and kind of everything that I've wrote down to create this business out of was kind of the opposite of what I had from a
Yeah.
coach. So whatever they done, I tried to do differently. So
Aye. Was it an in-person coach you had, or was it like online?
no, it was online. My wife's had a few in-person coaches, and they were kind of similar. I mean, I wouldn't ever say she had a bad experience, but it was the old-fashioned, turn up for a session, get a couple of exercises done because they're just chatting to you the whole time, and then
Hmm.
pay them 35 quid, and then that's it. So yeah, my one was online, but like we're talking, it was like getting pushed on fat burners, and
Oh yeah.
it was brutal, man. It was.
Have you ever coached in person, or is yours? Have you just been online since you started?
For Cultivate, just been online. Yeah, back in I'd actually done coaching and developing sport at Edinburgh College, and we'd done a wee bit of it there. That's kind of where this all started, where I
Hmm.
first got some of my qualifications. But since Cultivate, it's all been online, and I've had the the in person police sometimes come and they're like, "Oh, you can't be as good a coach if you've never been in person." I'm like, do you want to bet? Like, I'm pretty sure I could prove you wrong if you want. So.
Aye. What are you saying to that, Kyle?
I was just going to ask. So after you slapped down your notice on the boss's desk, like what was the game plan? So you're going into something that you've never done before. How did you go about creating Cultivate? Like what steps did you take at that point?
Yeah, so I've kind of had multiple. I can't don't know if I can call them businesses to be honest with you, but through a period of me being probably 20 to 26, I've tried and failed with so many different things, and I've never really got many things running. And I'm talking everything. Like I always had in my head I wanted to be my own boss, and I mean I've came up with like a non-spilled dog water bowl all the way to a handheld blender. Like we're talking like stupid ideas, and I've never really obviously took off, and I've just given up on it. But obviously through that, I've learned transferable skills. Like I've learned how to set up an Instagram page and close it a few times, but things like how to market, how to go about things. I also had back when I was like, I think I was only 21 at the time. I started doing digital marketing for a couple of dentists that were up in Aberdeen at the time, and I ran their Facebook ads. So I kind of had a good idea about things like copywriting, about speaking to people, about all these different things, and I kind of just pieced all that together. Um, but it was way harder than what I had in my head. I was like,
Hmm.
I thought since I had these skills, it was going to be a doddle, but no, it's been
Aye.
far from it. Yeah.
It's quite similar to you. Like when I restarted my coaching business and I went online, I had I'd taken like what 6 years out of the industry to go traveling and stuff. Came back for traveling, actually started training with Kyle, and it was training with Kyle that actually got me really up for it again. And I'm like, fuck, I really want to do this. I love what Kyle's doing. I want to see if I can help people. Just basically, no copying word for word what Kyle is doing, but quite similar business model. Working online, trying to just try to help as many people as possible.
I
Set
thought
up
you were
an
going to say
Instagram
there, mate,
page.
that just because he's a shite PT doing the same as you do.
Then I done the exact opposite for what Kyle had done with me.
Very
um,
similar to you. I get.
but yeah, man, when I set up my Instagram page, that's when it like really hit home of fuck me, this is way harder than it looks.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I used to when I had these other businesses, like I never put my face to it either. So I was hiding behind these like,
Hmm.
this like Canva posts that people, not like the PT Canva post, but it's like it comes up as like it looks like a notification on your phone, and it's like
Yeah.
remember, drink your water or something like I was hiding behind posts like that. I was never making reels or anything, but when I started the coaching page, yeah, it was having to actually put my face out there. It kind of made it a bit like I had skin in the game. Do you know what I mean? Like I couldn't really back out of that because it was like I've put my face out there, and if it just disappears, then everyone else will be thinking, well, that was a fucking flash in the pan. Like what
Yeah,
happened?
it's quite nerve-wracking, isn't it, when you need to put your face into the business. And have you had a lot of people kind of telling you you're in the wrong industry or you shouldn't be here?
I've had, I don't know if I've had someone say that I'm in the wrong industry, but I had, there's definitely, you can sense it sort of looks down people's nose at you, like, don't
Hmm.
get me wrong, especially, I mean, I've been in sort of mentorships and stuff, business coaches, we could call them if people don't know, like, what fitness mentors are like, listening to this, but you, in certain types of mentorships, you kind of have that kind of cliquey vibe.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And
100%.
certain ones that are meant to be good coaches and or they're the ones you look up to, but then the new ones coming in just sometimes get looked down their nose at, and that was kind of what I was kind of referring to when it was like there's so many people just now that have said to me before, like, well, you've never been in person, like how could you
Hmm.
be a good coach? And it's like I still get shit hot results, like I still get world class results. I know that I'm without a doubt, I believe firmly that I am the best coach for my target market, for the
Hmm.
clients I've if they were with another coach, they wouldn't do as well as they would with me because I'm the best person for them because our personalities match,
Hmm.
our sort of ways of life match, our the way we go about things. They're all aligned. Our likes, our dislikes, our interests are all very similar. So so I don't think an in-person PT can say to me, "Oh, you're not as good a coach if you haven't been in person." So
Aye.
I love proving people wrong. You know what I mean? It's
Well,
like,
I think
right,
that, I think
see.
that self-belief as well, just like that self-belief in yourself, knowing that you are the right person for the job, that's gonna see you going far as well. Kyle, what were you going to say
I was
there?
going to say, for them who's listening who doesn't know, who is your target market, Chris?
Busy dads is what we call it, but sometimes that's a bit too broad because everyone's busy and most people are a dad nowadays. Most people that I have are between 25 and 35-year-old. They're at a point in their life where they've probably never had to worry about their self-image, their body, their physique before. Then they had a wee one, and as me and you know, sometimes that can go a bit to pot, and Tuesday night ends up takeaway night because the Wayne's been screening all day, and you can't be bothered cooking something, and it's kind of those dads that are finding themselves stuck in a rut, and they think, what happened? Pretty much. I never used to have to worry about my body, and now I'm not happy. So
So obviously it's a thing that you're still going actively through at the moment. How are you finding running a business with two kids?
it's mental. So stressful, man. Like we've got, yeah, it's again, I didn't really anticipate how difficult it would be. And even sometimes, like not even thinking about business, but see sometimes like my wife's back to work. She's working a couple of days again because she didn't really do that the first time round, and she felt it was a massive mistake. She took a lot more time off. And she ended up getting pure bored in the house, and so this time she's went back a wee bit earlier. But those days when she's away, I feel like a single parent, and I just think to myself all the time, like hats off to single parents, man. Like I don't know how they manage it, but it's difficult. Like it is obviously very very difficult, and I'm probably one of the worst people for organisation. Like I'm really really bad for it, and I could openly admit that's one of my weaknesses, but thankfully, my wife, on the other hand, is like she's super organized. Like our calendar is like we've got a joint calendar. Don't tell your wives about this because you'll be roped into it, and you get shared notes as well. So we have a shopping list, right? And she adds stuff to the shopping list. She'll go just nip by the shops and get the stuff on the list. So there's like no excuses for me not to see it. The calendar's like color coded, like greens for me, pinks for her, blues for family, yellows for appointments, and there's all these different things. And I just turned my nose up at it first. I laughed and I was like, "Come on, let's get a grip here." But see, if I didn't have that, my life would be a shambles. Like genuinely, like, because I have in there, like I say this as and something I batter on about to sort of clients and in my target market all the time. Is like there needs to be structure. Like there has to be, and I think It's funny, Kyle. You mentioned about me getting cancelled. My wife said to me, she's like, "Don't say anything controversial." But this could be like one of those Molly-Mae moments where she was on bloody Stephen Bartlett and said everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. I'm going to end up getting cancelled. But do you know what? I think a lot of the time, I think people just use that as a quick excuse, an easy way out of I just don't have the time. I just don't have the time to go to the gym. But before I actually accept that from anybody, I want to know why. Like, well, why is it you don't have the time? Like, what specifically makes you think you don't have the time? Because, like you just said there, like without tooting my own horn, like I do have two kids, I do run a business, I do have an annoying little dog as well that needs looked after all the time. And there is all, between the school run and him being away, being unwell and going to hospital and different things always happening. And, we only have one car at the minute, so I sometimes take my missus to work. And there's all these different moving parts. Like, I still manage to stay on top of my training. Not 100% at the time, but at the end of the day, we're not all perfect. I still managed to pretty much keep in line with my nutrition again most days. But if I didn't have that structure, that wouldn't have been possible. And I think that's the thing that the most dads especially are lacking is that structure, is having that organization in place to say like, this is what I'm doing and this is when I'm doing it,
Mhm.
and that's not changing unless something crops up, obviously. But I know like 8 a.m. I'm training every day. I say 8 a.m. That's not happening nowadays because I've only had 3 hours sleep by that point. But whatever time's in the calendar to train, that's when I'm training. And then this time's for work. And then after that, it's like chill time, or it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, walk the dog, or it's do the food shop, or whatever it is. So, yeah, if I didn't have structure, I would be
Right.
dubbed.
Where do you
Totally.
where do you think the structure came from? Is that something that you've had to apply since you started the business, or have you always kind of lived your life with some sort of structure?
You've definitely applied in the business, I think. Because, yeah, like I said, obviously, my wife's a super organized one, and she's always, at least had like a paper diary,
Mm.
or she's always chatted on the phone. But it was only really until I started this, like I was forgetting to do stuff all the time, and I was all over the place, and I was missing things out, and I just never really had an actual structure. So that's when she said, "Look, you need to have a diary,
Mhm.
you need to have a calendar of some sort." So yeah, yeah, before even like when I was back in sales, like I wrote stuff down, but like
Yeah.
I'd write it in a notepad that I would never look at. Do you know what I mean? I'd
Mhm.
never look at it and then it would be like, oh, it's meant to go and see such and such at 10 and it's now half 10. And yeah, so I was a bit all over the place, but yeah, I've learned a lot about organization since then. So
Mate, it fucking helps, man. I take this everywhere I go. Sits on my desk, it comes in my bag with me everywhere I go. See, anytime somebody asks me to do something, it gets written in the diary on my to-do list. And if I didn't have that, man, I would be the same as you, man. It would not be getting done.
I
yeah, yeah,
I was going to say I'm extremely probably unstructured by nature, so I have to be super structured. But actually, since having Finn, one of the things I've tried to do is overcompensate by being almost too structured. I end up like I'm ongoingly speaking to somebody about this because one of the biggest parts of driving anxiety for me was trying to structure absolutely everything. So there was set days off, set evenings off, but when Finn and Jen are in the house, I'm like, that then gets thrown out the window because I'm getting handed a crying baby at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and I didn't anticipate taking a 2 hour lunch break and things get pushed. So for me, like being a dad, and actually I don't disagree with what you said, and you're definitely not going to get cancelled because I agree with Molly May. I didn't know who she was. I actually put a post up about it recently. I didn't actually know who she was until she said that. Still don't really know a lot about it, but I think it's always interesting the way that two different people deal with the same situation. So, like, you could be underslept, you could be super tired, but there's two different ways of going about the same situation. I think structure definitely helps. I would be lost without having some form of this is what needs to be done today, and these are the big rocks. But I also think there needs to be an element of flexibility for when shit goes wrong. And one of the things I've been kind of speaking about recently is actually going through the gears. So, like, fifth gear being you at your absolute best and what happens at fifth gear, but actually looking at what gear 4, 3, 2, and 1 look like, because that still moves things forward. So I find that's certainly helped me from that point of view.
yeah. I call that what you've referred to the gears there. I say to clients and I say to myself like, what's your minimum and what's your maximum? Like your maximum's obviously your fifth gear, but it's like everything's going smooth sailing. It's great. You've had a great week with the kids. There's no interruptions. You're doing your 4 training sessions a week. That's how many you want to do. You've hit your calories every day. You've hit your protein. Everything. You've hit your steps. Everything's bang on. But then it's like, well, those weeks where shit does hit the fan. What's your minimum? So it's like, what is that minimum amount you'll do where you're happy still to do that because you know you're still doing something? Is it could be, say, it's 2 sessions a week instead of the four, or maybe it's, hitting your calories 5 out of 7 days and hitting your protein 3 out of 7 days, whatever it is you choose. But it's like, I'm really bad for feeling, I get this sort of overwhelming feeling of guilt quite a lot. And that's like, I'll feel, oh, I'm working too much. I'm not spending enough time with the kids. And then I'm spending time with the kids and I'm like, I'm not working enough. And I'm in the gym and I'm like, should I be doing something else right now? And it's the same as kind of what you said there, where you said you get this sort of anxiety of wanting to structure absolutely everything. I was getting to the point where obviously on the Apple Calendar on your phone, when you schedule and there's a little, if you look at the day view, there's a little red line that comes down and it's like it starts obviously say at 7 o'clock and then it goes in the middle of that. If I looked at my calendar and my wee red line was in the middle of a block, that would stress me out because I would be like, I've missed the start of that block. Like I'm behind. I'm stressing out now. Um, so yeah, I always have that feeling of guilt. So I need to set like a minimum in my head of like what am I okay to do when life isn't smooth sailing? Because like you said, there has to be that flexibility. Like no, we're not robots. Then they can't be pure like this is what's happening when. But if I could be able to do that 80% of the time, then I'm usually pretty happy.
How have you found like clients responding to maximum, minimum, and structure? Have you found that they've responded positively? And obviously, you're getting absolutely class results and stuff like that. As would you say the foundation of that is kind of a minimum of what they can give in structure?
Yeah, I think there's always been a good response to it. It's funny. Some clients have the view of where it's like if they do anything less than 100%, like they think they're
Mm.
like doing you a disservice. They
Mhm.
start apologizing, like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't go to the gym 2 times 4 times this week." And I'm like, it's okay, mate. Like it's fine. Don't worry about it. How many times did you go? I went twice. All right, yeah, okay. Like that's okay. What happened? And then we speak about it. But I think having that minimum and maximum in place, because a lot of the clients that come to me, they obviously their sort of lives, they're not their fitness lives, but their actual general lifestyle is a bit all over the place. And a lot of the guys I have, they grab convenience food quite a lot, and it's they don't take lunch to work with them, or they don't like that's like an afterthought. They just think, oh, I'll just go and get a quick roll from the shop or the bakery next door. It's exactly what I used to do when I worked in a travel agency. I was at a desk all day, and I used to just nip to Baines the bakery next door. Um, so having that minimum and maximum in place without actually saying to them, right, this is what you're doing and when, it gives them a sort of loose form of structure
Mhm.
where they know, right, I've only done one training session this week, things aren't really going to plan, but if I can do at least one more, then I'll be happy. Or I've hit my calories 4 out of 5 days. If I hit them one more day, then I'll be happy because that's whatever minimum they set. So
Class. I want to dive back a wee bit and talk about your experience with or your bad experience with a coach previously. What is your opinion on the current state of the fitness industry? Since
uh,
joining it, obviously you came into it kind of about a year ago. So what would you say your opinion is on the state of it since you started Cultivate?
Before you answer this, Chris, this is potentially where you could get cancelled, mate. So name and
Mate,
shame them.
if we were going to get cancelled, we would already have been cancelled with the amount of shit that Kyle's already flung on this podcast.
It's true. To be fair, that's true. Yeah.
you know what? It's funny. Like, I used to say things to my wife all the time. Like I always say when it was just me and my wife, and she used to always be like, "God, that's controversial. Obviously, you're going against the grain." She always says that about me. She's like, "You always go against the grain. You always go against what everyone else thinks." But see, since like having a platform and putting my face out there, I feel like it's given me more of a filter, and that's something I'm trying to work on now. Is like
Mm.
trying to get my opinion more out there without getting
Mm.
cancelled, obviously. But I even hate the fact that people get cancelled. It winds me right up. But what is so fitness industry or coaching industry?
Fitness industry. We'll go with fitness industry first.
I think
Don't worry, you can say whatever the fuck you want.
there's a big push now for for functional fitness at the minute, and everyone in their dug is doing high rocks, and CrossFit was the thing before this and stuff like that, and everyone's uploading their Strava runs and their 5K
Yeah.
PB stuff like that. And I think that's great. That's obviously amazing. Like people are going to be improving their cardiovascular health. And the thing I think annoys me is like I've always hated trends. Like see it's someone doing a trend of something just annoys me. Like a certain type of shoe that people used to wear in school was like they used to get ripped into for wearing that type of shoe. And now it comes about and everyone's wearing them and it's like tripled in price. That winds me up. But then like right now I can just see High Rocks as a massive trend.
Yeah.
Strap a massive, massive trend. And I think the annoying thing is like people are just doing it because they see other people doing it. They don't give a shit about their nutrition. They don't give a shit about actually improving their physique. They're just turning up so they get, I don't know what you get at the end of High Rocks, a certificate probably, or you get a wee medal at the end of your 5K.
Kyle will be able to answer that one for you.
I was gonna say I done one without training for it, but you get a wee badge and your soul ripped away from you at the same time. So
I mean, it couldn't be that bad because you're training for another one.
to be fair, I'm taking the pressure off. I'm doing this as a mixed doubles, and neither of us have done any training yet again. So class, yeah, not exactly the poster boy for it.
Would
Do you know
you?
what?
Sorry, you go, mate.
I was going to think like it's great. I think obviously like I've never seen anything even because I've always been into fitness and I've always followed coaches way before I was even a coach, and I've never seen anything take off as much as High Rocks. Like the CrossFit was kind of always there, but it never pure went to the heights that High Rocks went to in the sort of peak summer of this year or sort of March April time, whenever it was. It was like everybody was going on about it. It was mental, and it just it's like it came out of nowhere, and the community it built was absolutely phenomenal. And I think that's all fine and well, but now it's like now I don't like I've always been into a bodybuilding style of training without the purple sparkly thongs and the posing in front of the mirror. But it's like if you're not doing High Rocks, you're not doing it right. Like you're doing something wrong. I keep saying High Rocks. I don't just mean High Rocks. Like I'm using that as an example because that's the event that people do. But functional fitness in general,
Well,
jumping in.
like this is a term that I've never really looked up the actual definition. What is functional fitness? What is functional training? Is there an actual definition for it?
Kyle probably has the actual definition, but as far as I'm aware,
Googling it right now.
as far as I'm aware, it's being able to sort of lift heavier, being able to strength train, but you can still use your body in other ways. So
Like
run.
that kind of hybrid athlete.
It's like
Got
yeah, that's the big term at the minute. Is it a hybrid athlete? And you've got boys like Ollie Marchon and stuff who are, they're the people that everyone look up to. And I actually just done a reel about this the other day. Like I get guys come to me and say, I want to look like him, and it's all like Marchon, and they want to do like high rock style training,
Yeah.
they want to wall ball and stuff like that. And I'm like, he didn't get looking like that
Yeah.
from functional fitness, mate. Like that's not. He went through years and years of bodybuilding. Like he
Mhm.
prepped his meals and he tracked every single lift and he ate it with Tupperware. Tupperware. I just said Tupperware. I'll rip into my wife for saying that. It's not a Tupperware. It's a plastic tub.
Tupperware's a brand, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a brand. It just sounds so posh. Me, oh, can you put it in a Tupperware? What? Put it in a plastic tub for you.
Tupperware. I got it for Lidl. What are you talking about?
Like,
Functional fitness is a type of exercise that supports and mimics your everyday life. It includes movements such as walking, pushing, pulling, bending, squatting, twisting, reaching, lunging, and core. So walking makes you a hybrid athlete, from what I understand there.
Fucking
that's
knew it.
right in my bio.
I
Straight
knew it. I knew I was always an athlete deep down.
But do you know what? Like, it's great that everyone's getting into it. But like I said, it's guys like that and guys like I know Mike Thurston doesn't really do the sort of the hybrid stuff yet. I think he's easing his way into it from a podcast I heard he was on with Ollie Marchon, but like, he didn't get looking like that from
Yeah.
functional fitness, and it's hard because it's everywhere, and people think, well, that's what I need to do. It's not. It's not what you need.
This is where Joe Wicks comes into it for me as well. And if you've never listened to the podcast before, Chris, I am very opinionated on Joe Wicks
Okay.
because he sells his physique. He sells his programs based on his physique, and he's trying to get overweight people, sometimes even morbidly obese people, to jump about their living rooms with the promise that if they do that training, they're going to look or have a physique like him. If they eat his food and do his training, they're going to have a physique that looks like him. And that is just something I am completely against because it's just fucking lies. he's preying on vulnerable people that want a quick fix, and that don't want to go to the gym, so they think hit training is the answer.
Yeah,
But yeah, in reality, you're probably just going to mess up their joints. You're going to mess up their self-confidence because they're going to be doing the exercising. They're not going to be seeing the results that you've promised. So they're going to think they're broken and then going to think, what's the fucking point?
yeah.
And that is what I've got a problem with.
I completely agree. And even, his thing was always lean in 15, and it was always like, really quick, sharp workouts. And this is what I was wanting to mention when I mentioned about structure and when I said I was going to get cancelled. But like, I just some people like there's when you're a dad coach, there's the sort of the premise that people think, oh, I want a quick workout. Like I only have 30 minutes a day for the workout. That's no use to me. Like, yeah, you can get something done in that, but I'm sure we can find half an hour in the day that you could add on to that already half hour if we structured your day properly. That might mean you're training at weekends. It might mean you're training first thing in the morning, but I think we're going quite soft, and we are going quite soft with a lot of things. It's like everyone is saying like, oh, like you can eat all your favorite foods and you can still lose weight. Like of course you can, absolutely. But people aren't understanding what that means. People are thinking like, I can still have McDonald's 3 times a week in class. Well,
Hmm.
I want to wreck your actual health, mate. Like,
Aye. Yeah.
yeah,
Were you in the fitness industry, or were you like kind of training and stuff when the whole if it fits your macros trend was happening? That was a few years back, eh? I think that really fucked up people's perception of what they can and can't have. Because yeah, technically you absolutely can eat anything you want, so long as it's within your calories. You will still lose body fat, but your health isn't going to be very good. You're going to feel like shit. You're going to move like shit. You're going to sleep poorly. So I think that's really skewed everybody's perception on eat what you want, still lose weight.
Can I just throw out there though? I think a lot of these things come on the back of how regimented we were before, because it wasn't long ago we had the cardio versus weights, and then we had the extreme dieting where it was either clean or it was dirty foods, and then somebody obviously found out that once you start tracking foods, that you can start to incorporate some of the foods you want, and then that went extreme, and it was like if it fits your macros, it's now going along the lines, but it's almost going back again to the fact that like, oh, it's about your energy availability, digestion, and all that. So you can't actually have all of these foods that you enjoy. And I think I'm going to jump in with my own opinion about like the fitness industry, and with like I'm even going to encompass coaching in this. I think we are possibly at a point where you have some of the best coaches and some of the best kind of tools available to us for whatever you want. But we've also, because of the platform, the regulation, and everything else, we also have some of the worst coaches who have a platform and can kind of get around that. So I think it's one of the best times, but it's also one of the worst times because it's just not regulated properly. I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with people jumping into like a High Rocks, a CrossFit event, a marathon, a Strava thing, as kind of Chris said. But I kind of also feel that exactly the point there is it's been sold to a lot of people as you will look like this rather
Mhm.
than anything else. And you then look at the chicken and egg situation going, the people who you see on Instagram doing that, they're in great shape and they're posting about that because they're in great shape and they're doing that and it looks sexy. But if you actually go to like a High Rocks event, if you go to a marathon, like look, they're the outliers. Like there are those who win it or who look the best are the ones who are constantly posting about it. You'll have probably almost the vast majority who look like your average Joe just coming out of an office. Like it's not the sexiest event. You see people crossing the finish line at marathons who look like, yeah, they're built for war more so than anything else. Like so.
Mhm.
I think that's a great point. And you know what? It's not just with Strava, and it's not just with High Rocks and stuff. It's with coaches a lot now. Like there's coaches who are putting their clients through photo shoots, but they're not preparing them for the emotional side of a photo shoot. They're going through a photo shoot prep and they're not ready for the emotional state that you're in after that prep. Or peak week, for example. They might tell them like how to get through a peak week, but they're not thinking about the emotional state or how you feel after an event, how you feel after running a 5K or doing a marathon. Like the blues that you get after doing that. Then you go, right, what now? Like I had a purpose, I was training. Now what am I doing? Do I just start training for next year's one, or I'm a bit lost? And you're absolutely right. People are getting sold this dream physique, or yeah, this is what I need to do in order to look like that. But they're not actually getting prepared for it. They're not ready for
Mhm.
what's to come.
I mean, and it's not even just events like that as well. It's you could say the same for weight loss as well. Like if somebody's, let's say somebody is dieting down, right? A female's dieting down from 70 kilo down to 65 kilo, and she's been sold the promise that once she gets to 65 kilo, she's going to be in peak condition, she's going to be in peak health. She gets to 65 kilo, what's next? Do you know what I mean? That emotional side of, like, she's not being prepared for that emotional side of things of what comes after. So chances of her, reverting back to old habits is very high. And then the weight just starts to creep back up again until she gets back to 70 kilo, and then fuck, I need to start dieting again, get down to 65 kilo. And then it just starts that whole vicious cycle over and over again.
I think that actually ties nicely into. I asked you if you meant the fitness industry or the coaching
Hmm.
industry. Because if you'd asked me about the coaching industry, I would say that online coaching is a farce at the minute. It's a joke. There's the amount of coaches, sorry, the amount of people that just stick online coach in their name at the
Hmm.
minute, thinking they can just put up a few workouts and then, like you said, are probably in good shape themselves, sell that the gym to people, but they're not actually, they don't know how to coach their clients. Like they're completely faking that. It's absolutely wild. And they're selling 12-week programs and they're charging 997 or £1,000 for 12 weeks. But that, like, if a client ever comes to me and if they're saying they only want to be here for 12 weeks and I'm asking serious questions, why, that's a red flag for me. Like, what, 12 weeks, right? Let's say you lose 10 kilos in that time, say that was their goal. What happens after that? Because, like you said, are we going to maintain that? Are we going to learn how to maintain that in 12 weeks? If you've had a shit diet for 5 years, I think you can undo all those bad habits in 3 months.
Yep.
Do we have to go on a maintenance phase? Are you wanting to look like some of these guys? Are you wanting to, get bigger so you can carry the kids about? Or you want to look better? You want the kids to be proud that you're their dad, so do we need to go into a muscle building phase? Everyone thinks, oh, 12 weeks. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could then seek my life in 12 weeks. That'll be my dream body. Like, it won't. Like,
Let me ask you this then. I'll throw this out to both of you, right? What would you say, on average, is the amount of time that people would need to stick with a coach to really sort out their health, sort out their habits, sort out their routines?
I'll let you go first, Chris, if you want to go.
probably say, on average, I would say at least a year. I would say 6 months is probably that would be the minimum, I would say, but I would say a year is a decent benchmark. A year
Mm.
to a year and a half.
Our average client stays with us for at the moment about 14 months. Got some that stay for 3 months, got some that stay for 3 years. But I would say, based on experience, that yeah, it's probably 9 months to at least 12 before I get to the point where I'm like, I would be happy. It also depends on what point they come in at. Like, what's their, like, how far are they in the woods? Like, where do we need to bring them to? What's their goals? Like, how are they responding to certain things? Like, as you talked about, like, if there's a photo shoot involved, like, is it the moment the photo shoot's out the window that all of a sudden they've not tracked anything for the next month and a half and, like, rebounded massively on that? Like, are they stopping, checking in properly? Like, what is their tonality when they do things? What are they able to do? How consistently do they show up? But yeah, to answer the question, like, loosely, I'd say 9 to 12 months for most people. I'm like, yeah, I'd be happy enough if you went back into the world. You've shown enough to deal with stressful situations. You can fairly handle autonomy. Like, you know how to set your own goals. You know how to self-manage. You know how to be accountable. And more often than not, I'd be right. But then the opposite, sometimes when you get a feeling that somebody's not ready and you try and they're like, no, I'm going to do my own thing. It's a red flag for me when somebody's like, I just want to take a break from all this tracking and stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
good luck to you. See you in a year.
Yeah, yeah, mate.
Honestly, the amount of people we've
100%.
been like me and Chris work together with 12x, and see the amount of people that are on 12x, that they're only on maybe week 5 or 6, and they're like, I just needed a few days away for tracking. I'm ready to get going again. And we're like, this is not the habits that we're trying to build. This is not a temporary fix. Like, this is habits that we want you to continue doing for the rest of your life to see long lasting results. It's not just a 12-week period where you track religiously and then after the 12 weeks you just revert back to your old habits again, because that progress isn't going to stick. Here's a question for you as well, right? What if somebody came to you and they said, I'm going on holiday in 12 weeks. I just want you to hammer me for 12 weeks. I don't really care what happens after those 12 weeks. Would you be prepared to train them for those 12 weeks, or does that go against everything that you're kind of that you're working towards, the standard that you're trying to set for your brand?
I personally, I would take them on because for me, I'm like, what your expectations are and what you want to do is completely up to you. As much as I have my way how ideally I'd like to set things, the conversation would be had and go, right, cool, we're doing this over a 12-week period. This is what happens when you do it, and this is the potential rebounds after it. This is what it looks like. This is the shape we can get you in 12 weeks if you're happy enough to go ahead with it 100%. But the way sometimes I would look at things is like, it would be essentially somebody saying to me, I want to run a marathon in 12 weeks. I'd be like, right, cool. It's going to be a slightly different approach than what I normally take. This is what's happening. Like, you're going to be happy enough after that. If 6 weeks after you can't run the length for yourself anymore, are you happy enough to deal with that? Then look, sound, that's you, that's your prerogative. But as long you can only ever, in my opinion, make things clear to the people in front of you. You give them the two different doors of this is what happens if, and this is what happens if you don't. It's up to them what way they want to do it. I can only facilitate it as best I can. As kind of Chris said earlier in the conversation, when people come to me, I reckon I'm their best shot at doing it. They've made up in their mind they're going to do it anyway. So realistically, I'm like, I'll give you the best. And ultimately, there's times where people come to me and said, I'm here for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and end up being with me for 3 years because we've changed their mindset along the way. Now, whether that be an issue that I have as well, in the sense that I feel I can fucking change people. I'm like, right, you might have had 10 different coaches before, which again, red flags, you might have whatever, but I reckon I can be the guy who sorts you out. And sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. You usually get a feel for it pretty quickly on people, but at the same time, I would be open to give it a go, but you do need to, there's a lot more to change in physical change. For me, it's when you start that kind of journey, there's mental change as well. The person that comes in, like I've worked with people with 140 kilos who've ended up in the 80s and 90s, like dropping 50, 60 kilos. The person who is 50 or 60 kilos heavier isn't just physically that heavy, like mentally, there's a lot of changes that have to happen to get there. So, in a roundabout way, I would, but there's a lot of caveats to that as well.
Aye. What about you, Chris?
I think I would ask them the question why, and I think there's like to get in shape for a holiday. Why are you wanting to get in shape for your holiday? Because there must be a longer lasting reason for that. It can't just be that you want to look good to go to Marbella for 2 weeks and then you come home and you're back to your old ways. Like, do you not want to be happy and feeling confident all the time? But I think there needs to be a good balance with a lot of people for the overwhelm and underwhelm. Because I think a lot of people, a lot of clients, and it's hard for us as coaches to remember that when a client comes to us, they're still in their before state. So they're still in a state of they don't know what's possible. Like, what if it doesn't work for me? Why would it work for me? I've tried everything before. And I think there needs to be a fine balance of, yeah, okay, come on board for three months. I'll show you what's possible in those 3 months. We'll get you looking class for your holiday. But then I think when they've actually achieved some sort of result, that's usually when I'll put together a wee roadmap for the next 12 months. And then that really shows them what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once they've maybe lost 2 stone or whatever it is they've wanted to lose, or they've dropped so many trouser sizes or whatever, they've added on inches to their chest, whatever it is they wanted to do. Once they've seen some form of result, that's when they think, I've got the bug. You know,
Mm-hmm.
what else is possible? But it is hard because sometimes you can just jump away and straight away be like, 3 months isn't enough. No, we need to do longer. But then they don't. Sometimes the client doesn't understand that because they just think, well, they don't know, and it's hard for us as. I think what doesn't help as well. There's so many experts out there just now, and whoever gets given a fucking one of these mics and has a controversial opinion, they go viral and like yaboos and whatever else. And I'm going to talk about him because every coach has said their piece on him at some point. But
Who's that?
Eddie Abu.
No. You've got Gary going. I was going to warn you before this. Don't mention his name on the podcast. Gary just goes off and one for a bit.
Yes, he's a podcast favourite.
It's not just him, mate. It's like we had the Liver King at one point.
Aye, mind him.
It's like it's just any like you were saying earlier, Kyle, it's like because there's no sort of filter's not the word, but there's no sort of like restrictions in place at the minute. There's no one sort of really policing this as if to say, you know, this is a joke or it's wrong. And I think the thing is as well, see with fitness and see with coaching and see with losing weight, like How coach's favourite saying, like, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Like, there is. See if you did do keto and you done low carb, you will lose weight because your calories are if your calories are in control. Like, but it's the way people frame this. It's the way
Yeah.
people put it. Keto is the best thing ever, but someone else is saying carnivore is the best thing ever. So then it's when your client comes to us, they have all these opinions. It's like, I like that guy because the way he looks, or he's funny and he says keto's the best thing. So I now believe that. Joe Wicks is a perfect example. Oh, he's a great family man. He's funny with his recipes. Like, he knows, like, you don't need to do long workouts. He's right.
Yeah,
No, he's not fucking right. I'm
100%.
right. Cultivate Chris is right.
Aye, there's just zero regulation whatsoever, and I actually feel sorry for for people that are struggling with their self-image, people that are struggling with their weight, and if they want to go onto social media, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is they use, and try and find some advice, I genuinely feel sorry for them because there is so much conflicting advice on these platforms that it's completely overwhelming, and it's probably overwhelming to a point where they just don't even bother starting because it is far too much to take on. You've got people telling you, like you said, carnivore's the best. You get other people telling you keto's the best. You get people telling you to avoid eating fucking cereal because it's poisoning you. What was the one that we dealt with in Inside 12X, Chris? A nutritionist to a gym. In fact, I mentioned this on a podcast last week. A nutritionist for the gym told the women to stop eating so much protein because it's poisonous and it
Yeah.
sits in the
Sits
large
in
intestine or something like that. And we're like, what in the fuck is going on? And obviously we deal with so many people inside 12X that they've all got all their algorithms is different to each other's. So we're getting people asking us about X, we're getting people asking us about Y, and C for us as coaches, like C trying to break everything down and explain things to them. Um, that an idiot would understand, trying to like really simplify it, trying to explain to them like the fucking 5-year-old. It makes our job so much more difficult. But yeah, it's just
I
the
think what makes it
unregulated
even more
industry.
difficult as well is like, because there's so many of these experts out there, a lot of people just see you as an accountability coach. Like, they know best.
Hmm.
Like, I've had clients like drop their own calories before, and you're like, why have you done that? Like, I've worked
Yeah.
that out based on you. Like, my one-to-one clients, we go through an assessment week first of all. So, I don't know if in-person PT still do it, but back in the day, you used to get them to fill out their food diary and stuff like that. So we go through an assessment week of, right, go and eat for 7 days as you normally would. And people usually try and be good, and they're still not that good. But they try and change it and think, oh, I'm going to do what he wants me to eat. But we go through an assessment week, and I can see how much protein's had over the week from his normal diet, his carbs, his fats, the types of food that he's eating, how much convenience food he's eating, if he's cooking from home, if he's tracking properly. And then we go through a training assessment as well. And I just asked them everything to do with training. How have you trained before? How many times a week can you train? How many times a week do you want to train? Does your gym, what equipment does your gym have? A big massive checklist of all these different equipments. Does your gym have this ticket? If it does, what split do you like the best? And everything I do is completely personalized to this person,
Mhm.
completely personal. If I give that plan to somebody else, it's never going to work
Yeah.
because their likes, interests are totally different. So why are you changing your calories based on what some guy on Instagram said?
Hmm.
I've set that for you. You can't just be like, nah, I'm dropping my calories this week because I want to lose another kilo.
Aye.
It's not work like
Aye.
I personally feel that there's not enough respect given to what we do at times, and a lot of people think because you can Google something that it's easy enough for them to do, and they fail and fail and fail time again. So I actually think there's a personal responsibility issue on that, and I'll liken that to the fact that Jen and I have a house that needs renovated, still got single glazing windows upstairs, because we did Google how do you change it, and to be fair, I probably could make a
I
start.
used to sell windows. I could have got you a deal, but I felt
Always selling, mate, always
I
selling.
put,
I
I
like
put my notice down and walked out, so that relationship.
that. I was going to say, do you do Republic Island? But and like in terms of us googling it, we can Google it. But there's a reason I've not started that because I know if I start trying to change my windows myself, I'm probably going to end up cold with no windies. And you can do it cheap as well. But at the same time, having renovated the house and putting a substantial amount of work into it. Like we have paid for things on the cheap, and you often get what you pay for on that, and you have to then spend 2 or 3 times the amount of money try to fix it. And I think coaching's the same. Like yeah, there's stuff out there that could be useful, but at the same time, there's a lot of shit out there that's maybe not useful. Like you could do it the same with almost any industry, but people somehow think in the fitness industry it's sound because they can lose a wee bit of weight themselves, or they've done it themselves 10 years ago when their life was completely different. They were fucking mid-20s, no kids, no responsibilities, and they managed to lose 5 kilos. So they think all of a sudden when they're 35, 2 kids deep, like working a job, that it's as easy for them. Then they get frustrated when it doesn't, and like they then think it doesn't work for them, or like there's something that's changed. And like a lot of the time you do actually just need to like invest a little bit. You talk to some people and they're like, oh, it's my top priority, it makes me feel disgusting, I feel like this, I've not felt great in years. I'm like, right, cool, how much are you willing to invest in it? Oh, like 25 quid a month. I'm like,
Aye,
listen, yeah, no worries, you'll get what you pay for on that.
100%, 100%. Do you guys feel, do you feel a wee bit of guilt if you feel like you can't really get through to someone? Do you take a wee bit of responsibility for that? Even if it is the other person, it's just maybe not willing to listen. Do you feel like it's maybe something that you've not done right, or yeah, something you've done wrong?
I think I used to really take it on. I used to take it on hard. But doing this for 14 years, like you start to notice patterns and trends. And the most frustrating, I was actually thinking about it because you still get clients like this where you have done everything bar turn up to their house and make them food, and they just won't do the thing. But they make
Yeah.
themselves promises each week and they fail at those promises, and you try and break it down and try and break it down. I think a lot of time being a good coach, you do need to always look at it and go, is there an element of something that I could do differently? And I used to, when I first started online coaching, because I got told it was like, you're doing a weekly check-in, there's no calls with people, there's no whatever. I was like, right, I need to follow that model. And when people used to like, don't want to say that, like, say I got 80% of my clients got results. See the 20% were like, oh, I'd maybe appreciate a wee message during the week or something just for accountability. I was like, how are you not getting results? Like everybody else is like, whereas I'm like, I've now had to change my approach and go, do you know what? Actually, that's a bit shitty of me. Looking back at it, like I should actually be on top of people a little bit more because realistically, having a fucking pen pal you speak to once a week might not be enough for people. So like having to then adapt that. So you do need to look at certain things. I'm sure there's things that I do now that in another 5 years' time I'll look back on and go, right, I probably should maybe improve that. But
Hmm.
there are certain people, and I think that it's sometimes just not the right time. They might want something, but they're just unwilling to maybe change that element of whatever it is in their life. And I'm not saying I'm okay with it. You always have something to learn, but realistically, for me, it's like the percentage of people I coach, I'm still at one of the higher percentage of people. I measure the metrics and what they actually come in for exceeds what like they get. We exceed what they get. So I butchered that in English, but yeah, I
I
was
know
going
what
to
you
say.
mean.
Um, Glad you do, mate, because I don't. But yeah, I was going to say we do exceed expectations with the majority of people that come in, but I think there is a fail rate. It's just trying to get. I put a post out about this, but like I think you just need to try and minimize that. Is my system repeatable for the majority of people, and is it a higher percentage of people than not? Would be my answer to that.
Yeah, I think I definitely resonate with that a lot. Obviously, being fresh into sort of doing this on my own, and obviously I've done wee bits in that in the past when I was at college and stuff. But now I'm older and more mature. I've always been somebody who would always look up to the person above me, the person who's a bit further on than me for help, and that's why as soon as I became a coach, I knew that I wanted to be in some sort of mentorship. I knew that I wanted someone to. I like having the path laid out ahead of me. Like I like someone to say to me, if you do this, 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 and this, then you'll get to here.
Hmm.
I've never really been great with trialing and trial and error,
Hmm.
whatever the saying is. Never been good for trying things and then trying to work it my own way. I'm not, if someone says, try like do this, then I'm okay with failing at that. But trying to find my own path, I've kind of always been a bit like, I always like to have that path laid out. So I was very similar to you. Kind of what you said there was like, this is the way to do it. Like whether it was a one weekly check-in and you speak to them once a week, or you know, it's a written check-in that they do every single week, or whatever it is. And I had like, because I was so new, and I've probably only just really got over it recently, but there's always that imposter syndrome where you're like,
Hmm.
they know better than me, so I need to do it that way. Um, for so long, exactly what you said, Gary, I would be like, if someone wasn't checking in or if someone wasn't getting the result, I would put all the blame on myself.
Hmm.
And then that's when I started doubting this person's ways as well, this person's system. Like, oh, if that's I've been told to do that way, but it's not working. Like they're the problem. But
Yeah.
it's a lot up here. There is. It's a lot of to and fro and going back and forward with yourself and trying to convince yourself. Like I think a lot of the time I'm happy now if I hold up my end of the bargain because now I know it. Like I've since my plans are so personalised now and I know I'm doing everything I can. I need to take and like you said, Kyle, I need to take not full responsibility. I need to take understanding that yeah, some people just aren't ready, and it's the
Mhm.
same with people reaching out for coaching. I used to like I see some of my pals and that I used to always go on about like I want to get in shape, and I used to be standing here like I mean I'm a coach, like come on, or like I'll do it for cheap, like when I was first starting, and I never used to do it. I used to always be like that's infuriating, like why are you not doing it? But I've
Mhm.
learned to understand like it's when they're ready. Do you know what I mean? And most guys kind of think I can do it on my own. So I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, cool.
I think a lot.
That's
One big problem that we face as well as coaches is exactly what you just said. There, people aren't ready, but people think by them handing money over, that's going to switch from being not ready to ready. And other people also think as well that handing money over is automatically going to get them results without them having to put in the hard graft to do it. I think a lot of people's perceptions of hiring a personal trainer is if I give this coach my money, he's going to tell me what to do from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed, or he's going to fucking do it for me. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a big problem for that us coaches face as well. I would say two problems: one, the person not being ready, and two, the expectation of handing money over is automatic results
yeah. There's a lot of managing expectations, 100%.
for sure. Kyle, you guys say something?
I don't know if I'm going to open up another wormhole here or whatever, but I do think that when it comes to like a price point of something, that like we obviously, I say obviously, like I'm making assumptions here, but most coaches would probably want their service to be. Well, if you're a good coach, you want to be affordable for the people because there's some people you can't help, but like if you price them out of it. But I also think there is a correlation between being at a slightly cheaper price and people's ability to just like throw money at things and think it's going to solve it. Whereas at a higher price point, there is more skin in the game, so they have to invest in it a little bit more. And I fundamentally used to disagree. Again, mentorships and stuff, limited belief, like you had to go to a higher price point. I was hearing some of the money they were charging. I was going, that's fucking ridiculous for what you, whatever.
Aye.
But actually, the longer I go in it, I'm like, do you know what? Like, as started to kind of scale up things myself, I'm like, I know my messaging's changed and stuff as well. I used to have people fighting over the fact that it was like £100 a month, like going, could you do it for 80? Could you do it for 70?
Yeah.
That's not affordable for me. And it's like, you were just attracting people who just wanted to throw like amount of money. They're happy enough to still go out every weekend and spend whatever they are. But like when it comes to like investing in it, they're not really invested. They just want to throw like the same money as what a gym membership is, because ultimately that's what they see you as, is just a gym membership. Whereas I do find there is a little bit of correlation of going up a little bit higher and people investing in it and then getting better results, because the people who are willing to put that investment in are far more likely to put skin in the game with that, which I think is the issue when it comes to bigger group coaching programs, because you're going to have it on a wider, like you're going to have a wider sample group of people who throw money at it. You will obviously get the higher percentage of people who are willing to do it, and a lot of those they're the people you want, but you also will have a sample size of people who have just tried to throw money at something and are unwilling to change like anything at all, which is probably the most frustrating thing that any of us deal with as a coach, is trying to take a horse to water and it literally just sitting looking at you and you're like, it's fucking there, mate. It's there.
Just put your head down and tongue out and start drinking it. Like, yeah, I think a lot of the way your clients are with you and the way fuck, I'm going to sound like a businessman myself here. But I think a lot of the way our clients are with us, and the way that we on our consultation calls, the way they go, a lot of it's down to how they view you on social media, your content. Like I had in previous mentorships, I was never really told. I was told to put my personality across on social media, but I didn't know what that meant. Like I've got the most sarcastic, stupid personality ever, and I was like I mean, I always acted professional. Like I would always act like this is how you get more protein in and eat 30 grams per meal, and here's three tips and whatever it is. Like, but now I've started putting my personal and back on then. So back then on consultation calls, It used to be a case of if they didn't sign up to coaching, that I would get my knickers in a twist about it. I'd be like, "That's something I've done. Like, what have I
Hmm.
done wrong? I followed the process. They said they were ready, but they're just not committing. They said they want to speak to their wife, and I've not done anything about it." But now that I'm putting my personality across, and thankfully I'm with different mentors now that they've got me to doing such an easier and easy going approach to things. It's like whenever I'm on a consultation call with somebody now, it's because they want to sign up with me.
Hmm.
So whether my price was £100 a month or £500 a month, that right type of person is on that call in front of me because they've
Hmm.
seen my stuff, they've seen what my personality is like, they've seen what I believe for and what I believe in and what I stand for. Whether that's that bodybuilding is going to get you in great shape and high rocks won't, or whether it's you know fuck keto and fuck the Liver King and there we go. There's me cancelled again. There's like fuck all these guys. They will probably have similar beliefs. That's why they've reached out. So yeah.
I, I've just stolen a bit of content there from you, mate. Things that won't get you in shape. Cheers, mate. Cheers for
That's
that.
what I mean, mate. You're fine. I think
Been
Gary knows it, is he? Either that, he's shocked by what we've just said and he can't believe
he's had a wee moment there, hasn't he?
it.
It's the most productive he's been all morning. Good man, Gary. What was I going to say? You're running something at the moment, aren't you? It's like Project Cultivate. What's that about?
Project Cultivate. So that's an 8 week fat loss. Oh, he's back. There he is.
My
Hello.
God, man, my internet just fucking stopped working.
Oh, I thought you were saying you went to another dimension or something there, mate. You were amazed.
It's the
Just
best
Oh my god, that was
best you've
some
been.
trip. What went on?
Sorry, mate, I completely missed everything you said there, so I'm not going to ask you to repeat it because everybody that was listening all already heard it.
You know what I mean? It was absolute gold as well. You're going to have to come and
I'll need to re-listen to the episode back next week.
Well, you're editing it, mate. Yeah.
Well, I'm in, there we go. Right, I know we're getting on a bit for time here, so we're gonna finish it on this unless there's something else that
Wait,
you.
wait. No, I've just asked. I've given Chris the opportunity to plug his current thing that he's running. So I've just
Oh,
asked
right, let's do it.
what Project Cultivate is.
thanks. Thanks to Gary jumping in there. Jeez. Project
Sorry, mate.
Cultivate. It's an 8 week program. Um, I ran something similar to this before, and it was called at the time the Anti Shred Summer Shred. And this is a program that goes against all your traditional shreds and 6 week challenges. It's an 8 week program designed not only to help you lose up to 8 kilos, but you're going to learn how to keep that off after. You're going to have it's a program where you don't just get a PDF and meal plan thrown at you. You've got me weekly to check in with you, and then you will learn a video library there to learn that, to have an educational resource to learn how to keep that off after. Because at the minute, I don't know how many people know about the shreds and stuff, but there's coaches out there putting their clients on a ridiculously low amount of calories just to get a result, just to post on their Instagram to make them look like world class coaches,
Mhm.
and no one sees the aftermath of that. So this is the sustainable shred. I might call the next one, but
Excellent. I know a few people that done. I'm not going to name the program, but I know a few people that done it this year and last year, and like women were losing their menstrual cycle and all that, and it was fucking up their menstrual cycle and stuff. Just so the coaches had a good before and after photo. No, not giving a fuck about the actual health of their clients. It's crazy, man.
it's hard, and it's hard as us as coaches because you need to wear so many different hats between you know being a coach, being a salesperson, being an accountant, being a copywriter, being a marketer. All these different hats you need to being a content creator. I don't know if I said that. But all these different hats, like you need to get these points across. Like, why should someone do Project Cultivate instead of doing some of these
Hmm.
stupid shreds? Because these stupid shreds will get you a result in 6 weeks, but then after that you're fucked.
Yeah.
It's exactly what we've been talking about. You're right back to where you started or worse. And then the next thing you reach out to a coach, you're using the excuse, I've tried everything. If not, you've used XYZ's 6 week shred and it didn't get you the result. It got you the result you wanted, and then but you didn't know how to keep it after that. So
Hmm.
so
That's
Project Cultivate is the last 8 week fat loss program you'll ever need.
love that, mate. Absolutely love that. Is there anything else that we're talking about before I fucking chime in again, ruin
Oh, mate,
everything?
you come in like the wrecking ball and tell us what you want to do at the end. Like, come on, Gary.
I was just going to ask if what mad shit you have seen on social media this week. if any. Do you want me to kick it off? I usually have a think.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, go on.
So this actually plays into what we were talking about, like the shreds and the cookie cutter programs and stuff like that. I seen an ad. It was a guy that I used to work with in Pure Gym. He now runs his own gym. Hopefully, he doesn't listen to the podcast. But he put a paid ad on Facebook. And it's like his target market is busy men in a specific area of Glasgow, right? And what he was saying to them was, sign up for our 6 week program, lose up to 20 kilos of body fat whilst packing on lean muscle. And I'm like, you've just completely lied to vulnerable people. Like, lose up to 20 kilo, up to 20 kilo. Obviously, that leaves a big range, but and pack on lean muscle in 6 weeks. I'm like, what? Do you even know what you're fucking talking about, man? So that wound me right up the wrong way. And I also seen I'm on Reddit as well. I try and avoid like Instagram and Facebook if I don't need to post anything or if I don't need to dive into like a community page or whatever. So I was on Reddit and one of the subreddits that I follow, it's called Gym Snark. And they're basically just taking the piss out of all these like influencers or fitfluencers people. And there was this girl, I think her name is Hannah Pearson. I don't know if you've ever heard of her.
No.
Mate, the most, I know I'm not the most likable person, but the most annoying. She would come on with a mic and she would be like, welcome back to another Mikey Make Up sesh. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And somebody put a compilation of like 6 of these things together of like her just going, Mikey Make Up session. She was doing like this fucking finger thing with her hand and shit. And I'm like, why are people watching this? Like, this is
Oh,
melting my brain. And this is what we've got to compete with.
I've just seen
yeah.
it there, mate. I've literally just put it on.
You're joking.
That's yeah. It's just doing this with hands a lot.
Mikey Make Up sesh. I'm like,
One thing that annoys me, and it's usually fitfluencers or whatever the fuck they're called, that they do as well. See when someone comes on and says, this is the best meal for fat loss.
yeah.
Fucking, or here's like, this is the meal that helped me lose 3 stone. No, it fucking didn't. It wasn't that meal, mate. It's not magic. This is the best meal for fat loss. Right, well, see, rather than just saying, here's how you make a fucking minced burrito bowl, naked burrito bowl. How about you tell us why it's good for fat
Yeah.
loss? Is there healthy fats in it? Is there a good amount of carbs? Is there a good amount of protein? How balanced is it? That winds me up. And the other one that annoys me is the people that go far too optimal on their exercises, and they have like there has to be like obviously form is extremely important, but they say you use this attachment and that you'll like
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like you have to lean at this specific angle with this specific attachment, and it's like, mate, it's not that complicated.
Because your muscle fibers actually run this way and not that way, so you need to do this. And yeah, Kyle.
You know, we are the fucking problem with this, by the way, because like even having this conversation, we're talking about people that are like fucking idiots on the internet. But like, ironically, Chris, what you just said about the hooks that they're coming in with, like, as in, like, this is the best meal for fat loss or whatever. You can't help but fucking watch it. Like, I sit there, like, it's a car crash, and I'm sitting there watching it, going, you might think they're a dick, but at the same time, their reach is going like 100 times what ours are, because if you try and give good quality information, people don't want that. Like, generally, we are fucking chimpanzees with fucking smartphones is what we are, because nobody actually wants to know what's good for you. They just want to. I'm convinced that people on these recipes and stuff, they never actually make the recipes. They just go, oh, that looks class. It's like, it takes you an hour to make it. Fuck that. Like, no chance.
Yeah, 100%. That's something I've learned as well. It's like, see, when you're trying to educate people on social media, it's like no one's really bothered. It's entertainment is what people are there for.
Yes.
There's this one girl that my wife, she even rips into it, but she still waits for it. She does recipes on TikTok. I'm going to have to stand up for this. This will be probably podcast exclusive. So
Come on.
she gets her bowl, right? And she's obviously showing the bowl. And then about 3-4 seconds into it, she always goes like that. And then she takes a spoonful and she starts going,
Oh.
every time. And every time we see it, we're like, why are you doing that? That is so annoying. But every time she watches and waits for it, she's like, she's going to do it. What? She'll do it.
Yeah.
You should boosted her views for that.
100%.
Every time she does it.
Kyle, you're saying that we're the problem by watching this. I think we're watching it for a different reason from, the average Joe blogs. Like, we're watching it to see what fucking car crash it is, but they're watching it thinking that it is educational content because it's entertaining. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was including myself in that. I wasn't just saying you two. I mean, like I'm involved in that as
Oh,
well. Like,
100%.
I try my best not to actually. I actively used to not follow coaches, like unless I knew them or whatever, because I'm like it just annoys me some of the shit that comes out there, and I end up finding myself looking at going right. Fucking, why are you doing that? And I would start going a wormhole of the rest of their stuff, and then because I've looked at their stuff, comes up on my stuff more often and more often and more often.
Mhm.
This year actually is the first time that I've either unfollowed or actually just blocked their stuff. Like some good coaches that I know as well, I'm just like the ones that annoy me are the ones that are constantly fucking selling things all the fucking time. It's like you can't get through. It's like a video starts off and it's like it could just be a random, oh, this is what I've done on a Thursday, and all of a sudden, oh, it's buy my whatever, lean, whatever, and you're like, fuck off, mate. Like, just don't want to be seeing that stuff on my Instagram. I get that we all need to play the game of selling. None of us are at the point where we're James Smith, where we have an email list, or not that I know of, that have an email list where you can sell to people behind closed doors and you have enough that you can do that with. But at the same time, I'm like, just give it a fucking rest, man.
Aye.
I know you're pretty short on time, but just to touch on that as well, one thing I used to do is when I followed coaches when I first started was I always looked to these coaches and thought I should be doing what they're doing. So whether they were doing a functional fitness style training or whether they were coming out saying you don't need cardio to lose weight, none of my clients have done cardio. At first, I would start thinking to myself like, "Fuck, maybe I should start doing that with my clients. Maybe I should stop making my clients do cardio." But now I've realised like that's not me. It's not my style of training. Like I haven't had cardio. Like I would happily put cardio 2 times a week in my clients' plans because one, it is going to aid their fat loss, and two, you're going to improve your ticker at the end of the day. So if we're just
100%.
weights and heavies, and I'm kind of going against what I'm saying about being a hybrid athlete, but if we are just lifting weights all the time, then we aren't actually really improving much of our actual cardiovascular health doing that. Unless
We're just getting really fucking good at lifting weights.
yeah, exactly. I moving stuff from A to B, heavy shit.
I was going to say, like, hybrid athlete is one of the terms that does my head in because the style of training that a hybrid athlete is, like, it's like the style of training that most of us, like, us would have probably done over the years. Like, I've certainly lifted weights, played a bit of five-a-side football, ran a wee bit, like, and does that make me a hybrid athlete? Fuck no. Like, I got in, when I flew over to Glasgow to do the High Rocks in March, like, I got back on the flight to Dublin and literally it was full of people with fucking backpacks on, with fucking built for athletes.
It's a coach.
Yeah, coach and stuff. I'm like, it's the same. It's the same in anything. Like I've done powerlifting, I've done a bit, not a level, but CrossFit, and I've done high rocks. I've done these things, but see when you see people just letting it become their personality, and it becomes like you've done one high rocks and you're fucking high rocks coach. Like I'd done one, lost part of my soul. I would never like. Whilst I have clients who want to do a high rocks, and that's fine, I'm not going to start claiming that I'm a fucking high rocks coach. Like
I've not actually seen your Instagram, Kyle, but it's the ones that do a high rocks one time, then their DP, their picture. I just said DP like I was on Bebo, man. There's a picture of them doing the sled pull or something like that.
Aye.
One of their high rocks pictures. And
Aye, pure edited down to fuck, pure dark, dingy, doing the pool, looking amazing.
Going to have to change my image now. Now that Chris
Aye.
is
the image I want of you on your display pic, Kyle, is the one of you dying doing the burpee broad jumps.
Here, yeah. There's a video of me somewhere I actually tapped the ground. I don't know what I was doing. I think I was having out of body experience at the time, but I actually was just tapping the ground. And it must have been a subconscious tap out. But yeah, no, not for not. I think anybody. Well, whilst it's good to have, and again, I'm very conscious of the fact we're going to end this soon. But I think it's good to have certain things of what you enjoy. But for me, people who let the entire thing become their personality, whether that be marathon running, powerlifting, fucking high rocks. I'm like, just part of my soul dies a wee bit. So when I go on Instagram and I see somebody who's just high rocks, high rocks, high rocks, high rocks, I'm like, the reason that high rocks is popular is because it's essentially CrossFit without the skill. Like outside of like helping people with pacing themselves and getting fitter, like there's really not a lot you have to do to be able to get somebody good at high rocks. I'm willing to be fucking questioned on that, or willing to be challenged on that, but I reckon it's one of the easiest non-barrier exercises that you can do. Like there's a reason that so many people, and actually if you look at it, so many out of shape people can fucking compete in it, because it's, in my opinion, it's like a half marathon. It's tough, but it's like the majority of people, if they fucking just started doing a bit of training, they can do it. Like, and that's why it's so appealing.
There's not a lot of technical ability needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. The annoying thing is as well, I don't really coach females. I have coached females in the past, but that is not really my target market. But the thing I see a lot is there'll be a PT who offers like high rocks class. They come do my high rocks class on a Wednesday. That's all that female does, and they think they're going to get in great
Mhm.
shape. Like they don't eat well out of that, and they don't go to the gym to strength train out of that.
Yeah.
They go to a high rocks class and they think that's enough. It's like you're
Aye.
in what's his name, Higgy Mills. No,
Who?
what's the boy in Mills that does the bike classes and that? The
Les Mills.
Les.
Les Mills. I was going to say
Big
Jeff.
Les.
Big Les, yeah, Les
But
Mills. I think like people go and do those classes on a Saturday morning
yeah.
thinking it's enough, and
And
it's
then wonder why they're not changing shape, wonder why they're not, toning up, because you're not doing the
yeah,
type of
toning up.
training.
I, I,
Um,
I had that conversation with somebody on a call the other day, and it was like they were talking about classes. I'm like, I've no issue with you doing classes, like 100%, but like let's look at them for what they are. They have a great sensory effect. You feel great after them. But like I used to work in a gym in Glasgow 10 years ago. I went back to that gym and they're still the same people doing the same thing, and they actually don't look any better. They look worse, like because time has caught up with them, and if anything, they've not addressed any of the nutrition habits yet. They're still willing to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do a fucking Les Mills class, or I went to High Rocks class about 2 weeks ago, and it wasn't High Rocks. It was literally just a fucking circuit class. There was like middle
Yeah,
aged
that's
women
it.
doing a fucking circuit class with the name High Rocks on it. I'm like, yeah,
Hyrox is just a big circuit.
it's a big fucking circuit.
Yeah, that's what it is. They just slap the name High Rocks on it. Everyone's like, "What new shiny? Let's do it!" And yeah, it's a fucking glorified circuit class. Is what it is.
Mate, I was doing step ups. Like I was literally doing step ups during this class. And I'm like, I have done it at High Rocks before, right? But imagine me thinking, right, cool, I'm training to do a High Rocks, and then turn up in the day not really knowing what it's about, like I did last time, just waiting for the fucking step ups. When's the step ups coming, mate?
You should have challenged it there and then in that class. You should have stood up and been like, "Excuse me, where the fuck in High Rocks do you ever see step ups? Have you done High Rocks?"
Mate, the girl I was with is trained to do High Rocks, and she's shitting herself about it, right? And I was like, I'll do the class with you. No worries, whatever. Like, we're in the local vicinity, so I was like, I'll go to the class with you, take the pressure off. Mate, we started off with a 7 minute ab burn. I'm like, the fuck are we doing? Like, I don't know at what point in High Rocks you start doing V-sits with a kettlebell. I'm like, when does that happen?
Yeah,
So,
I don't know at what point in your life at all you do V-sits with a kettlebell.
For 7 minutes.
For 7 minutes. I
I
don't
went,
mind High Rocks.
I went to the skier, right? I'm not being big-headed on this, but the majority of people there, 15, 20 of us, they were middle-aged women. So I was the fittest person in the fucking class. I was literally cantering through it, right? So I went to the skier and I went to go and put on the units so I could see what pace I was at. There's a guy beside me screaming in my ear, going, "Don't stop, don't stop." Don't. I'm like, mate, if this is a High Rocks class, I need to fucking know what kind of pace I'm going at here. Like, I'm not stopping because I'm wrecked. I'm stopping because you've not got this fucking set up properly in the first place.
Set up to the wee graph that moves when you every
The,
time
the,
we
wee,
go.
the wee pace boat beside me, like playing the fishing game.
Right, boys, I am going to need to head off because I've got the car booked in for its MOT in about half an hour, so I need to go and empty it before I hand it to the garage. But listen, it's been a fucking pleasure having you on, Chris. Hope you've enjoyed yourself.
Just as a quick disclaimer, obviously I know we've been talking about, you can't just see your best result in 12 weeks and don't do these 6 week sets and stuff. And I know I've just plugged my own 8 week program, but there is a difference to that. That 8 week program is there to educate you a lot more so you can continue that yourself, or hopefully learn how good one-to-one coaching is and come in and learn how to learn from the fat loss king.
Excellent. I kind of try before you buy.
Yeah, essentially, I suppose, mate. Yeah, you come in, you do your 8 weeks, you learn a shit ton in that time, a lot more than you would ever learn from these other shreds and stuff. And then you either decide you can go on your own, or you can fly the nest, or you can stay at home with Mama Bird.
Top man. Just on that then, where can everybody find you on the old socials?
On those socials, you can get me on Instagram at Cultivate Chris _. You can try on Facebook, but not really much happens there. So that's just all your aunties and grannies on there now. So
Top man. Kyle, where can everybody find you, mate?
Instagram, Kyle_biofitness1. And Gary, where can they find you?
Instagram at gmac_health and fitness. Before we head off, I just want to say thank you very much to Dave Williamson and Toby Llewellyn for the absolutely quality intro and outro music. Thanks again to Chris for joining us. It's been absolutely top notch having you on, mate, and hopefully it's the first of many appearances back on the Old Fit with Us podcast.
yeah, well, listen, when I'm on Men's Health and Mike Thurston wants me on his podcast, I'll no remember you guys. I'll be by then. So
But at least you're
Cancelled well before that, mate. Don't worry about it.
Aye, that's nice. Good.